Cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Dana found that for me. This was a Christmas gift, I think.
It's beautiful.
A year or
Let's
so
say
ago.
it was a Christmas gift.
Yeah, it was definitely a gift. But yeah, she found it. There's some artist who I believe is a woman, and she does.
Why does that matter?
Well, because I was about to use a gendered pronoun, so I wanted to make sure I was using the correct one.
Okay.
And she does all sorts of kind of Incan inspired pop culture-y type designs.
It's great.
Yeah, I forget her name. But if you look up like, Incan Godzilla, you're gonna find it.
It's amazing.
All right.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, CJ's here. Look in the
Thanks,
chat.
CJ.
Yeah, he's too busy to actually be on the show, but he's not busy enough that he can't sit here and watch it. Hope you're having a good vacation, CJ. You're clearly having a good time, not distracted at all by anything. Jeez.
All right.
Whatever happens is not my fault.
Finally, video game opinions from some white guys. That was actually the first title of the show that we came up with, and we decided we needed to shorten it a tiny bit.
Yep.
Video game opinions from some white guys. Hello and welcome to episode 804 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. I am your host, Greg Stewart, because CJ doesn't love us enough to stay on the show this week and decided he needed a vacation. What are you going to do? With me, as always, from the same state CJ's in, so he's kind of like a miniature CJ.
I'm not in the same state CJ's in.
CJ lives in, I mean.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And previously from the same state CJ lived in, and previously again from the same state CJ lived in.
CJ
so
tends
you're
to follow me
basically
around
CJ, just not quite as likable, but funnier.
Have they ever been seen in the same state at the same time?
Not until I visited.
Yeah, Greg has evidence we are not actually the same person.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
I do my own research, man.
It's filthy.
That's me.
Hi, Phil.
My video seems to be doing some funky stuff.
Your video's doing some funky stuff.
Yeah.
Need to get out.
That other voice you're hearing, we might as well, introduce him because he won't shut up.
Tell me about
From
it.
The city of Toronto, Canadian indie game developer and one half of Bancy Co., Mr. Benjamin Rivers.
That's me. Thanks for having me on. I can't believe you finally broke down and let me do this again. Clearly, the memory of the last time has faded enough that this is.
I'm watching the chat and someone just described Phil as basically half a tub of Oreos.
See?
We can't hear you, Phil.
You can't hear me?
Oh, now I can.
Now you can.
Good. I was saying CJ's the one who eats Oreos.
Yeah.
CJ's the notorious Oreo fiend.
I assume that means that they think CJ is the full tub of Oreos?
Right.
Oh, maybe.
Which, I mean, he is pretty big and sweet, so...
Maybe.
The Will Smith of Canada.
Whereas Phil's like a half a tub of like those weirdly flavored Oreos.
Oh, yeah. Like the watermelon ones?
Yeah, like that's just weird.
I miss them. I miss them.
Do you?
The watermelon
I've never
Oreos?
tried like
Absolutely.
any of the novelty flavors at all.
Those were Target exclusive summertime
That's why.
Oreos a couple of years ago.
Oh, because watermelon's so refreshing.
Well, that's just it, right?
Right.
It's a delicious summertime treat.
Right.
Especially in Oreo form.
Oh, absolutely.
Really
that's the nice
cools you
thing,
down.
Watermelon is so, light. It's mostly water for crying out loud.
Yep.
Right.
So
Especially
why
in
not
Oreo
just
form.
The cream
turn
makes
it into-
it feel buoyant.
Exactly. And now they inject that flavor into just pure lard and slap it between a couple cookies.
Man, I'm hungry.
O-R-E-O.
Health food. Health food tips from Phil Theobald. Hey, Phil, how you doing?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm fine.
Yeah?
I'm fine. Look, my finger is free.
I see that.
Ooh.
I don't know if I want to show the other side of it because it's it's fine.
Well, you have to now.
Well, okay, there you go. There you
Ooh,
go.
don't show that.
I got a little. That's a little scar. The coloring you see there is
Mostly from Oreos.
mostly Oreo crumbs stuck in the crevasses of my surgical wound. No, that's
That's the name of my new metal album. How did you know that?
Gross.
crevasses of my surgical wound.
That's right.
Or Oreo
Oreo
crumbs.
crumbs.
Yeah.
That's our new single.
We are Oreo crumbs.
Like that, see?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I do what I can.
I had a moment this week where, and actually still hurts a little bit, where I was thinking that I might have the same problem you do, because I like this knuckle. I went to get up off the bed because I'm old, and I sort of like pushed down on the mattress, and just pain shot from this knuckle like right up my arm. But it seems to be gone now. So either the nerves are dead and everything's cool, or it was just a, you know,
it's amazing.
getting old sucks, man.
I think that should be you guys should get a new tier of your Patreon where sort of the higher price unlocks old man stories.
That's
all we got.
Is, though.
That's the regular tier.
I suppose so.
You know, the other day I went in to the doctor. I had to go in for physical therapy for my little finger surgery. And I go in, and there wasn't much. It was just, massage the wound to kind of prevent scar tissue from forming. Curl my fingers to get the full motion back, that sort of thing. But while I was there, I'm sitting in the little chair, and the physical therapist is showing me what to do. Meanwhile, just like across, just on the opposite side, there was another fellow sitting in a chair who was also going through some physical therapy. And they didn't have us in like separate rooms or cubicles or anything. It was just kind of a big open area.
Like in the sperm bank.
Huh? You need inspiration, man. You
need moral support. You gotta have your wingman there.
A little group party never dampens the mood. But this other poor fellow, as I'm sitting here with my little, I got a little.
Oh, he had a real problem. He had like real surgery.
This poor guy had a slash right across the palm that extended around the base of his thumb. I don't know if he was in a knife fight, or if he tried to grab a sword, or if it got caught in a machine. I don't know, but his whole hand was just shredded, and he had stitches all through, and they were actually in the process of removing them. And it was like watching a guy being tortured. He was
gross.
In
removing
pain.
Stitches always sucks, but I can't imagine on the palm of your hand how much that would hurt.
That the woman who was helping me was she was explaining that stitches in hand, that's like the worst place to have.
I can think of a worse place.
I felt so bad for the poor guy. So
that sounds like an anime convention that went horribly wrong.
Yeah. So did he turn to you and say, like, what are you here for? And you're just like, I have an ouchie.
I got a boo-boo. I got a little boo-boo.
Got pinched my finger on a dual sense trigger.
A little boo-boo from elective surgery. This might be slightly uncomfortable for upwards of 5 days.
Oh my God.
I know.
You're like, I had this wrapped for like 3 days.
Do you know how hard it was for me to type?
Yeah. My God.
I'd go to hit the period, and I'd end up hitting the comma key.
Like it was in the dark ages.
Oh my!
I tried to get angry on Twitter, and it just wasn't coming out.
There were at least 7 people who were wrong on Facebook, then I didn't get to tell them.
I'm trying to type ellipses, and I just say comma, comma, comma. Do you know how stupid that made me feel? Jeez, pal.
The real victims.
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah.
Monsieur Lariviere, as it says on your little name tag there.
That's technically correct. My last name used to be French. Now it's not.
Oh, really?
So there you go. True story.
Why is it not anymore?
Because my grandfather couldn't get work with a French name, so he changed it to English. Yeah, one of those weird things I found out when I was a
Discrimination in
kid.
Canada.
Theobald used to be
We were
Tybalt.
talking about Ben.
Yeah, but I'm Phil.
Oh, sorry.
Used to be Tybalt. Another
French name.
Another French name. Oui, oui.
So then, but I thought your name was Irish.
No. I mean, I'm certainly a good chunk Irish, but that's mostly on my
Chunky Irish is another Oreo flavor.
Oh my
a good
god.
chunk Irish. Oh, the sweet cream in the middle.
Who's the sweet
Irish?
Who's the sweet cream? Anyway, sorry. So your ancestry is Irish, but your name is not.
Well,
Theobald's an Irish name, isn't it?
I've obviously I have French background as well.
Yeah.
You know, the French comes from kind of the paternal side, and the Irish is from the
okay. This is
from my grandmother's side.
So I think we're all Canadian, is what we're saying.
Right. I guess
I'm boring. Seward is just a British name. It's always been Seward, and we didn't have to change our name because we were British.
Right.
We came to the
had
New
it
World,
all.
which we already owned. So
That's why you're hosting the show this week.
And that's why I'm hosting the show this week. Let's jump into some news. So a couple big things happened this week. First of all, Sony has finally come out and said what their new PlayStation Plus is going to be. So they came out and mentioned and said that they're going to launch a triple tier system, which at the highest level will include 700 plus games and more value than ever. So you got PlayStation Plus Essential, which is pretty much essentially what PlayStation Plus is right now. A couple monthly downloadable games, discounts, cloud storage, online multiplayer, which is something we still pay for. And the price will be the same. Plus Extra is all of that and adds a catalog of the most enjoyable PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games, including blockbuster hits from PlayStation Studios. And they're downloadable. Those games are downloadable for play. And then there's Premium, which all the benefits from the previous two, but also adds PS3 games to play via cloud streaming and a catalog of beloved classic games, both for streaming and download from the original PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and PSP.
Right.
Cloud streaming access for original PlayStation, PS2, PSP, and PS4 games, and time-limited game trials also offered in this tier. And that is the most expensive tier, which is $18 a month, $50 a quarter, $120 a year. And they also were I really liked this part actually, where they actually have one other tier, which is called PlayStation Plus Deluxe, which is only available in select markets, and those are markets that don't have cloud streaming. So basically, they've taken away this, and I assume you pay less for the stuff that you would otherwise have to stream. So what do we think of this? I mean, is this they had to do something to? This is their answer to Game Pass, clearly,
right?
They didn't say anything. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. How much is Game Pass per year again?
Oh boy,
I feel like I should have looked that up.
I believe the middle tier with this is competitive to the sort of standard Game Pass Ultimate price, but I could be wrong about that.
It's $15 a month is what I'm reading with a quick Google search. I think that's I don't know if that's the Ultra or Ultimate or whatever it is.
Right.
So that would be just Xbox, I think. But that, of course, includes EA Play, and I think the Ubisoft service as well, right? At least EA Play.
And those perks that sort of come in every now and then, where you get like a Crunchyroll, 3-month trial or things like that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I actually used one of the Game Pass perks to get what is I forget, YouTube Premium. You can remove ads.
Oh, right on.
Okay. And it hooked me in because once I did it and lived without ads on YouTube for 3 months, I said I never want to go back. So this sort of free.
Speaking as a YouTube creator, I really appreciate that. So, God damn it, Ben, you're never invited back. Yes, the price is the same as the mid-tier PlayStation Plus Extra.
Oh, okay.
Game Pass.
So I just want to ask two questions. One is, what do you guys think about the names of these tiers and sort of the like understanding what's in each? And two, was there anything you were hoping for that wasn't there, or did this sort of meet your expectations? I know there were rumors that kind of like basically blew everything out of the water, like a week before, but
I do like that they're one of the options is to keep PlayStation Plus as it is at that price.
Right.
Like I think that's important to do that because those of us there are a lot of legacy customers for PlayStation Plus right now.
right.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. I wasn't expecting 2 extra tiers. I was expecting it to be tier, but maybe like plus and then whatever premium is. I didn't kind of expect the middle tier. I'm torn over that. I was really happy to see PlayStation 2 because I felt like that's the most important thing that's been missing. PSP was a nice touch because there's some hopefully we get some good PSP games on there because the PSP has a really nice library.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of those ones that's sadly so almost completely locked to the PSP that I think it's important to get those games out there and give people the ability to play them in a legitimate way that they don't normally have right now unless you manage to pick up like a PlayStation TV, but even then
which is now like crazy expensive too,
right,
and it's super hard to find,
and even then you can't legitimately play all of them without like jailbreaking the thing,
right?
So I was really excited to see those 2 things. I don't know about the 2 different tiers. I think that might be too much. I do get it because unlike Microsoft, Sony's got, 25 years of history with the PlayStation brand, so they can go very deep into their catalog. Hopefully they do, but I don't see myself getting PlayStation Plus Premium. But I do like the features that are there for it, but I kind of don't like that it's more expensive than like the $15 a month. I know it's only like $3 more expensive, but still.
Right.
I'm the miserly one, so
I really
Phil,
want
what
to
about
see.
you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just asking what your opinion was because otherwise I'll just start talking different stuff.
Oh no, I'm very curious to see the library of games that they are going to put on there.
That'll be the important part.
Yeah. Especially the PS3, just because that's going to really determine if I spring for the premium one. And to answer your question, Benjamin, the names, boy, the names are just confusing because what is it? Essential, Deluxe, and Premium.
Deluxe and Premium.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Deluxe is the select markets one.
Oh.
Essential, Extra, and Premium.
Right.
Oh, Essential, Extra, and Premium. Yeah, just it's very confusing. If you were to say, present me with those names and say, put these in tier from least to most, I mean it'd be a crapshoot. I'm just guessing.
I think on top of that is look what you've done, and Bill Mudron in the chat actually put this is right. I think wildly missing the mark and matching the beautiful simplicity of Game Pass. And yes, by the way, $15 is Game Pass Ultimate, so that's also PC playing on PC, Xbox Gold, and streaming. So yeah, I think having the multiple tiers here, having more than 2 tiers, you're never going to be able to make a purchase without reading a description. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
To differentiate what those things are. Now, at the $3 extra a month, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe a lot of consumers will just go for the most expensive one. But I don't know. I'm the library means everything, and if they do it right, it could be great. Because I mean, you've got PlayStation, which PlayStation games, I think, on a streaming service like this aren't all that exciting anymore. Not because there aren't great games on the PlayStation 1, but because we've had access to them on the newer consoles for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
PlayStation 2 is huge. That, like one of the greatest consoles in history, one of the most successful consoles in history, one of the most amazing libraries in video game history. And if we get a lot of that, it could make this worthwhile because unless you've got your old PS2 around or you're into emulation, you're not playing those games anymore. And there's some great stuff on the PlayStation 2. So it depends on how they handle the library, I think.
I'm so worried about the content. There's a couple things about the announcement that was sort of interesting. One was that the way they announced it was so boring and not interesting. And some other people commented that, where was the
Where's the-
trailer? Where's like
Right.
the sizzle reel showing this? Even like what Microsoft would do with showing off even a Game Pass update in terms of like a content or service update. And the fact that this was just sort of like a really boring blog post was weird because it also said we'll show you some stuff soon. And
Yeah.
I kept thinking like, no, but you're supposed to show us now. The marketing beat is right now. Like I
Yeah.
want to get me excited to throw down some money, showing me what games.
Now we're still 2 months out though.
Sure. So I mean, and also like me saying that, I just realized how stupid that is too, because in the past 2.5 years, PlayStation's entire MO has been, we're going to drip feed you as much as like every time until we're ready. So just hang tight. So they're never going to sort of, show their hand right away.
I'm hoping that, because the other thing is with the library and going into the older systems, I mean, there's a lot of partnerships that need to be there with third-party publishers, and that isn't going to be easy.
All I care about is, are we going to get Silent Hill games? Is the greatest game of all time going to appear on my PlayStation 5? I'm assuming not.
But see, that's like, I think that's actually a great example though. If they can do that, you now would have a service where you can play every Silent Hill game on one service, right? You have a service where you can play, well, maybe not every Metal Gear game. It depends on if they emulated the ones that they included with Snake Eater, because 1 and 2 on the MSX were there, but still the Metal Gear Solid series, right? Like that's one thing that they'll have over Microsoft. But right now, yes, Microsoft's service is simple. And again, if you have the physical games, a lot of those you can just pop into your Series X and they work.
That's a big thing too, and I didn't expect them to do that because I think also the PS5 can't technically read CDs,
which is too bad.
You're never going to get PS1 games or the Blue Label PS2 games. Right?
Yeah.
But
which is too bad though. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
If you had one system where you just slide that disc in and it just worked and it went all the way back to like 95.
It'd be so good.
Man. Yeah, insane.
So really curious to see how they do like what PlayStation does in terms of like bundling things. Will they do things because they have like the PS5 storefront built right into the UI is a great way for them to say like, oh, here's like a Jack and Daxter collection. Here's a whatever retro collection of other stuff that they want and take you directly to a bundle in the store. But I really hope we get stuff like that. Like here's finally Silent Hill 1 to 4. Like get it now and shut up.
For sure. Absolutely. There's potential there. And, if they're going to lean on their libraries, that's great. But it will be, I think there's probably a myriad of third-party deals that they're going to have to make for it to be worthwhile in any way.
I know.
And not that first-party Sony games aren't great, but I don't know that they can carry a premium service all by themselves.
I mean, the reason the PlayStation 1 and 2 was so successful was the ridiculous amount of third-party support. Those are the games people want.
Yep. Yeah, it's not like a Nintendo. I feel like Nintendo can carry a service by themselves better than a Sony could, and definitely better than Microsoft could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Moving on, speaking of Nintendo, moving on to some of the other news this week, which was that Nintendo came out and announced that Breath of the Wild 2 is not coming out in 2022, that it's actually been pushed to spring 2023. This felt maybe it's just that I'm not that I'm not anticipating a new Zelda. I am anticipating a new Zelda, but I wasn't super excited about it yet because it still felt so far away.
Yeah.
So like this news, I'm glad they came out and said it. They didn't make us wait till like the middle of the year, or the end of the year to say, oh, by the way, this isn't coming out for, another 8 months. But otherwise it didn't have much impact on me anyway. Just because it wasn't really on my immediate radar yet.
I agree. I'll be honest, like all my game dev friends were all shuffling calendars now and just checking what's going on and things that people have to think about. Even Nancy are like, we gotta think about some stuff. Maybe change up a lot because do you even want to be in the same year as Breath of the Wild 2? Like, I honestly don't even know.
Nice. Just
Yeah.
don't follow Guerrilla Games release schedule and you'll be fine.
Okay.
Just saying. Also on the Nintendo front, and speaking of drip feeding, we got drip fed a few more games for Nintendo Online this week. Earthworm Jim 2.
Can I say one thing about Earthworm Jim 2?
It's not Earthworm Jim.
It's the game that got me into Beethoven and classical music.
That's
real
weird,
time.
but that's
Just
cool.
saying.
This
and
guy
then
does really amazing covers of the Earthworm Jim 2 soundtrack.
No, I
if
mean
anyone's
because
heard
it
of him.
actually hit 1K
amazing
sound editor
cover.
level.
Did Beethoven know Tommy Tallarico?
It's got
Beethoven's on the
Moonlight Sonata in it.
Amico Dream Team.
Crazy.
Beautiful.
And then, of course, a couple of Namco games, NES. I think they're both NES, right? Dig
Yes.
Dug 2 and Mappy Land.
Yeah.
Our missing host, CJ, was really excited about Dig Dug 2.
Really?
He clearly never played it.
I've never played Dig Dug 2 either.
It's not Dig Dug.
I've played Dig Dug 2.
It's okay.
How could you screw up Dig Dug though? Like, what?
Well,
is
it's because it's a lot different.
Oh.
It's not that they screwed up Dig Dug. It's that they tried something different.
Oh.
Well, I mean, that was kind of par for the course for
Yeah,
old school arcade games.
for twos.
You know?
Sure. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, it's the Dig Dug where you don't dig. So
Wow.
it's an overhead game that you're breaking up pieces of the level.
Yes.
So you're sort of creating cracks, with a jackhammer, and then pieces of the level will fall.
Crackerjack.
Yeah, there you go. It's not terrible. It's just that it's a sequel to an amazing game, and it doesn't come close to the game that it was based on. Yes, CJ,
Did you ever
Phil, whatever your name
play?
is.
Did you ever play the Dig Dug Digging Strike game for the
No.
Nintendo DS?
No, I've heard of this, but I've never played it.
So Dig Dug Digging Strike is a game that plays like a combination of the original Dig Dug and Dig Dug 2.
Oh.
Using the aesthetics of the Mr. Driller series, which is, of course, canonically part of the Dig Dug universe, the Dugverse.
The Dougieverse?
Yeah. And so on the top screen of your DS, it plays out like Dig Dug 2 because you're on the surface, breaking apart chunks of the island, and then you can dig down to the lower screen where it plays more like the original Dig Dug.
That's really cool.
It's a fun little game.
Man, the DS was just such a champ. So much cool stuff on it.
But Dig Dug 2. It's cool that it's there because I think a lot of people are in the same boat where they've never played it.
Right.
And it's not a bad game, but it's just not Dig Dug. That's the only problem with it, really.
Honest question, do you think Dig Dug 2 is one of those games where the team, like the internal team, made a new game and then the other department said, we should call it Dig Dug 2 or else no one's going to play it?
I think it has more to do with kind of what Phil said, to be honest, where back then it was just like the sequel wasn't necessarily just the same thing refined.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Hey, we got to do another Donkey Kong game. Let's
completely
make it a
different
shooter.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, that was even sort of trickling over to the home back then too. I mean, how many of the first sequels on the NES were felt completely different, like Zelda 2, Castlevania 2, Mario 2, not really, but I mean, it did feel different, but not for the same reasons.
Right.
So it just seemed to be a thing back then. So again, and then the other one was Mappy Land. It's been added as well,
which is it's like a platformer.
Yeah,
a more traditional kind of Mario inspired platformer. It's not terribly good.
And again, it's not Mappy.
No,
Mappy was really good.
Right. That's so weird. So
it's not even the first Mappy sequel because there was Hopping Mappy in the. There's another arcade sequel that plays absolutely nothing like the first game. Hopping Mappy was an early 80s arcade game which I believe is on Arcade Archives. And I say I believe
I
it's on
believe
Arcade
you're
Archives,
right.
but I absolutely bought it on Arcade Archive.
You just gotta check the groups on your Switch.
Exactly. It'll be in my retro game folder and in my Namco
But is it on the
folder.
Switch or is it on the PlayStation 5 or because aren't there different arcade archives on different systems?
I think it's on both.
Is it okay?
Yeah. But yeah, it plays. You're on a pogo stick, hopping around, smashing enemies. Yeah. So, yeah, they didn't care. Just whatever. Make the sequel anything.
I would love to know the internal scheduling system for how these games, get approved and put out. I want to see sort of the spreadsheet that says, okay, we've blocked out the whole year, and here's what's coming out, May 1st. You're like, okay. Cool.
Oh, you mean for Nintendo Switch Online?
For Nintendo Switch Online.
Don't even get me started.
It's just so fascinating.
Angry.
Because every time I see them, I'm like, oh, what's coming out? I go,
hey, look, 3 games nobody asked for.
Fascinating.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hopefully Sony follows that same.
Oh, God, that's really going to be interesting. I mean, they only have like how many thousands of PS2 games and PS1 games to get through?
Geez, they've got like 1,800 or so on the PS2 alone, don't they?
Yeah. The thing about when the Genesis games, before they came out, there was some like data leaks about a certain quantity of games. I forget how much it was. It was like 50 something or 80 something. And, people sort of slotted in on this spreadsheet, the ones that had been announced and what was to come, and said and I think they were able to somehow slot it alphabetically. I don't know how that worked. So you could see like, oh, there's something between this game and this game. So it's probably going to be this game based on the alphabetical order. But that's another thing where you think, okay, they've got a lot of content. Like if say they have 80 something in the hopper, like, is that like a 3-year plan? Because that's not a lot.
Yeah. I don't know.
Slow schedule.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Their schedule pisses me off. Yeah. So moving on to a couple other, I think the biggest news I found anyway, the biggest news this week was there will be no E3 2022.
E3, especially
not even
the
a
way
digital version.
The way it was announced was bizarre.
Yeah.
They just sort of like threw in the towel and said, it's not like they haven't been doing this, or it's not like they could have made a decision about this before, or, because of the state of the world or whatnot. But the fact that they just said, never mind.
Do you think that this is it? Like this is the death knell for like E3? Because I mean, it's been, especially in the digital age, we've talked about this so many times on this show, that E3 is feels obsolete. It has felt obsolete for a long time, especially as we move digital. And then, of course, with everything that's been happening in the last couple of years, how you not only did you not necessarily have to go to a convention, probably a lot of people wouldn't want to go to a crowded convention at this point. But I mean, in a world where like Nintendo Directs exist, and where Sony has their own online events a couple times a year, and where Microsoft does, and so many of these companies already do that. Does E3 even need to exist at this point? And I'm wondering if that's what made this choice easy, if that would have made this choice easier.
There was, I mean, I think the answer to your question is E3. I think this is the death knell. If it's not, this is, they never try to come back and they just don't bother, or that they try to make some attempt and it doesn't work out. But the other thing was that there was, I think it was like a Jeff Keighley, his Summer Fest, I think it's what it's called.
And actually, there you go, Jeff Keighley's stuff too. That eats into this as well, right?
And I think there was the timing of when the ESA said E3 was not happening, and then when there was like a Summerfest announcement or something, and it almost kind of seemed like, the deals got confirmed on the back end, and everyone's going with the Summerfest. So right. E3 is saying like, oh well, we don't have any content, so I guess we're not doing anything. I have no idea what actually happened, but it seemed kind of funny, and I think they've just all these other things that are faster, more able to sort of pivot around, all the crazy stuff that's going on and the changing needs of the industry. Those companies and events can do that, and E3 is still just a gigantic ship that turns very slowly, and I just don't think can can deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved E3. Don't get me wrong. I have so many fond memories of going to E3, but I'm wondering too, yeah, how much pushback that because they were losing companies anyway, especially
Right.
the physical version of the conference. And I mean, after a while, at that point, it's not really worth it anymore. If you don't have the heavy hitters, then why even have the conference? And I mean, the physical conference itself, the overhead for these companies to create these booths and to have the personnel and to have the
It's
equipment,
ridiculous.
it's nuts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and in this day and age, you don't need it,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, and the like you said, sort of a death of a thousand cuts, where after so many large companies pulled out, the writing was sort of on the wall,
Right.
because the whole thing that as an organizer of an event, you have to prove to the people who are going to buy floor space that it is monetarily worth to do so.
Right.
And clearly, over the last 2 years, that has not been the case because who can come anyway? But because everyone else just ramped up all their other activities and figured out other ways to get their news
Mhm.
to them, to people who buy games, it kind of just sped that along. I remember Phil Spencer talking on one of his interviews of the past couple of years, where someone asked him about, if the pandemic was changing how they did things, and he said, "Well, no, it's just sped up stuff that we had sped
Right.
up certain momentum, and said, well, we're doing it now in a year as opposed to 5 years because we just have to. We have to figure it out now."
Hmm.
And I think this is one of those things where every company is like, how do we do this when we can't get a whole bunch of people in a room? And suddenly they're going like, wait, I don't have to spend whatever, like $1 million on booth space, or some ridiculous amount to staff it and deal with something for a week.
Right.
You're like, oh, so suddenly that's an easy decision to make.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. I mean, thinking back to what E3 was, again, I used to love E3, and the pageantry of it was a huge part of it too. Like, I mean, the booths were almost as impressive as the games they were showing off
I still
back in the
love,
day.
yeah, going back and looking at video, walkthroughs of booths that I never got to see, and just especially around big launches.
But even I think that's gone by the wayside too, because it's just not what's important at this point, and yeah, I don't know. It's a shame. It's a real shame. But I feel like it's been coming a long time, and I think actually what you're saying about what Phil Spencer said makes perfect sense. I think E3 was sort of gasping for air anyway, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And now it's just kind of, the pandemic kind of pulled the plug on it.
Mm-hmm.
Phil, you look like you had something to say.
No. I'm silently communicating with my family.
Through telepathy?
Yes.
Cool.
Man, I want to be like you when I grow up.
No, you don't.
Ouch.
Isn't he only like a year older than you, isn't he?
Probably. That's a year of hope. Stop beating me down, man.
Phil, what was your first E3? Oh, Phil's gone. Ben, Phil's gone.
I'll be back.
Ben, Phil will be back. Ben, what was your first E3?
I've only one E3, which
You only went to
was
one. Okay.
Yeah, it was for Alone with You, which was 2016. That year I did GDC, E3, and then PlayStation Experience, I think, or was that 2015? Maybe that was 2015. Yes, it was 2015 because that was the biggest Sony E3. That's when they announced The Last Guardian, Final Fantasy Remake, Shenmue 3. I got to go sit at that one. So because Alone with You,
Shenmue 3. Oh my
I know,
God.
let's not. It was exciting at the time. Okay.
It was.
But because Alone with You launches a PlayStation exclusive, I remember getting the email saying like, "Hey, are you in for this?" I'm like, "Yes, oh hell yes." So Nancy and I went, and it was like I said, our first and only time there. We didn't have to do anything because we were part of essentially the PlayStation booth, so we just had to like send our build ahead of time, and they set us up, and then we just kind of found out where we were and sat there and did press meetings and stuff. But it was interesting for a few reasons. One was that was the loudest thing I've ever been to in my life, and I go to metal concerts in like concrete, rooms.
Mhm.
And I remember it was one of the most painful 3 days of my life because the trick we learned was all carpets at conventions are actually evil, because they will hurt your back more than just standing on hard floors if you do it for a long time. And I remember like not even or barely being able to walk out of the convention center at the end of like day one because I mistakenly spent all my time trying to stand on the plush carpet, and it kind of like messes with your legs. It's because we were doing all our press stuff and manning the Alone with You booth and all that, but we were situated right below Sony's main screen for their section, which was looping trailers and stuff, which had all their sound system right there. So it was
that would be loud.
It was
Oh,
madness. But it was a lot of fun. And that's when they had the first sort of PSVR big demo stations. What was the game that launched with the two-handed
There was
gun?
Astrobot's Playroom.
But there was the first FPS that they launched, Sony launched. It was where they had the VR.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was the first time they'd shown that publicly, because I remember them having like a fun space for that. And the booth was awesome. And Nintendo had a great booth. They had like lots of fun stuff.
Nintendo always had a great booth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even when they were having
Nintendo's booth was always a highlight.
So it was awesome just to be there. I think the Metal Gear Solid 5 booth was there, which was really cool. Like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is like the E3 I remember seeing in magazines, with like the ridiculous real life building that's meant to be, with an area from the game, and it's got all this stuff everywhere. So that was super cool.
What about you, Phil? When was your first E3?
My first E3 was what year was the first actual E3?
97? 95. About 95, I think.
Was it really?
I think so. Yeah, it was 94 or 95, because it was the year that the Saturn went on sale. 95.
95.
Oh,
right.
geez. Okay.
Because that was the surprise launch of the Saturn was the keynote.
Okay. So it must have been like 2000 or something like that. Probably somewhere in that range. I never went to any of the ones in Atlanta. It was always the LA ones. So yeah, it was probably around there.
Wow. Okay. So
Although, I think so. Yeah, it must have been. I can't even remember.
Yeah, May 11th, 1995 was the first one.
Okay.
Jeff Grubb said Farpoint was the VR game. Thanks, Jeff.
Farpoint.
That's the
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
Okay. But
what was your memory of it? So you clearly went for Ziff Davis then, right?
it had to have been. Although, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, it might have been earlier, because
It would have been earlier.
yeah, because you know what? I remember seeing what was it? Sonic Extreme was there.
That would have been probably 96 or 97
Okay.
then.
So yeah, I guess I did go to
Wow.
one of those earlier ones.
Did you have something big to cover, or were you given like a big important bit of coverage to do there?
No, it was just, the standard ghost.
He has disappeared. The devil got him.
Phil does this every now and then. We never know if it's.
And
Here we go.
am I back?
You're back.
I'm back. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember having any sort of big task or anything to do. It was just the standard kind of, if we are at the magazine, just go see these companies' games, and may have had an interview or two or three. But there wasn't like a specific like big story I was there covering. It was just the general kind of get information on all the games so we can put them in the magazine kind of thing.
I used to love the post E3 issues just to get
yeah.
that, because of course it was the only way to get anything like that for the most part. And just seeing all the photos was just like this magical wonderland I would never be a part of.
Yeah.
It's funny actually, because Jeff Grubb was just in the chat asking which issues of EGM would have the most, which monthly issues of EGM would have the most E3 stuff. And from what you just said, that's actually like there's two answers to that question, because shots from the show floor, be usually the June, July issues. But one of the things, and this is why even 20 years ago we were talking about, is E3 even worth it? Because of the nature of print lead times.
Right.
During the last couple of years of my run at Ziff Davis, we very rarely got surprised at E3. We usually had already, maybe not necessarily played what was at E3, but we had seen it. Like we had covered it already, because of course it was in the publisher's best interest that the games that were shown at E3 in May were in the magazines that were on the shelves around the same time, as opposed to 2 months later.
Right. I was just about to ask. So I imagine you would be getting heads up so you would know what they'd be showing. What's so fascinating about that is, of course, the nature of demos and builds and getting things ready for shows. I can't imagine how hard it would have been to plan, a press demo of some kind, whatever that was. Anything that was interactive.
And that's, that was also speaking as a developer. I the very short time I worked in development, E3 sucked, right? Because you had to polish up a demo. If you were at E3, right, you had to polish up a demo. I just sort of to finish off the discussion we've been having. So I was trying to figure out when my first E3 was, and I believe it was 1998, because I think it was the last year that it was in Atlanta. Because my buddy Jim and I drove from Halifax down to Atlanta.
Oh wow!
That was when in my old '89 Cavalier, and that was the trip where we realized that boy did it ever have a leak in the rear window. Because we drove through, I think we were driving through one of the Carolinas, and down in the southeastern states, when the rain hits, it can hit hard. And we drove through a rainstorm. And it just happened to be, we'd stopped in New York to pick up another member of Gaming Age, because Gaming Age had just started in September of '97. Picked him up and his girlfriend, and the four of us finished the drive from New York City down to Atlanta. So this other guy, who was also named Jim, was driving. He and his girlfriend were in the front seat, and Jim and I were in the back seat, and we hit this rainstorm, and within minutes, Jim and I were basically sitting in a puddle of water in the back of my car.
Oh, jeez.
So that was like my biggest memory of going to E3. But to be honest, I mean, there is nothing like it. When the doors, there's a YouTube channel right now that has great footage of these guys that went to E3 in 2000, there was one scene where the doors open and you can sort of hear the cacophony of the show floor.
Oh yeah.
But it's not just the people, it's like, all the different booths and everything, and like you said, the video walls and stuff like that. And there was just nothing like it. And being at that point running a fan site, hoping to break into this industry, but we were able to get press passes because of the fan site. It was amazing. It was just like, although I don't think I've ever enjoyed E3 from the perspective of somebody who's gone with nothing to do. Because even then, where we were hustling because we wanted the fan site to take off and be good enough that we could get jobs somewhere. So like I remember my first E3, I had set up way too many meetings with not necessarily big companies, but we would cover anything. So like, we were going around and grabbing press releases and getting quick demos of games. And then I remember going to my hotel room after every night and just sitting there typing on a laptop. I also loved it, but of course we were also poor, so there was like 8 of us in a room.
Right.
Oh yeah.
See, this is the Netflix documentary series that I want to see.
Oh my god, yeah, this is the best. This is the best. But I mean,
E3.
pretty much everybody from that website who wanted one ended up in the industry, ended up getting a job in the industry. So
nice.
Yeah, E3, we barely knew ye, and really didn't care about it after a while.
That first year I was there, if I am remembering correctly, like the biggest memory I have is of the Sega booth. Because they did have a demo of Sonic Extreme. They also had a arcade cabinet of Virtua Fighter Kids.
Oh, cool.
They had the arcade cabinet of Sega Sonic the Hedgehog.
The
trackball game.
That would have been old by then.
Oh yeah.
And
they also had I forget the name of it, but it was the game that was like a ride, like a little self-contained ride. It was the one with Michael Jackson in it.
Oh yeah. It was like a VR thing. It was one of those ones where you get into the booth, not VR, but yeah. I covered this in Generation 16. Actually,
I remember you showing this.
Yeah. It was like one of those
it's like Star Tours,
Star Tours or Back to the Future, the ride or one of those.
Yep, where you're in a little cabinet that all the doors are closed and it's a video up front, and the cabinet moves to simulate the movement of whatever the ride is that you're on.
There's like six or 9 people crammed into it. And it's made to look like a spaceship, and you all control like a cursor on the screen, trying to shoot down alien spaceships or some nonsense.
Yeah, he's like the commanding officer or something like that.
Yeah, he comes out and
can't think of what the name of that was, but I have covered it.
Prequel to Space Channel 5.
Yeah, it wasn't Captain EO and it wasn't Moonwalker.
No. And it wasn't the R360 because that was the gyroscope. Why do people in our chat keep saying Captain EO? It's absolutely not Captain EO. Stop saying Captain EO. That is incorrect.
The other thing that I remember from that first E3, and we really need to move on, we've been talking about this for quite a while, but it's been kind of fun, was the one thing that I did do, and I did this too. I missed a couple meetings because of this. I believe that first year was the year that Sony had Gran Turismo there for the first time, and they had a contest where you could. Whoever set the fastest time on Trial Mountain, fastest lap time on Trial Mountain, would win a trip to Laguna Seca in California to see a sports car race, trip for two. And that line was huge. So it probably took an hour to get through, which would have been like 4 meetings for me. But I stood in it anyway because I knew that I would have a chance because I had imported Gran Turismo. And played it nonstop for a year.
It's amazing.
And I went and I set a lap time, but probably in the morning of whatever day. And that was all I had time to do was to set that one lap time. But it was the fastest lap. And I ended up winning the contest and winning that trip. And which was great. But the reason that it sticks in my mind, well, first of all, it sticks in my mind because I took my dad with me. It was the first time I'd ever gone to Laguna Seca. A big race fan. My dad, I get my racing fanaticism from my father. And he'd never been to California, so it was his first trip to California. It was great. It was a great trip. But the reason that it sticks in my mind otherwise is when I got hired at Ziff Davis, and especially once I started at EGM, the art director there, Cyril, that happened to come up in conversation one day, and he was like, "You're the guy." Because apparently Cy waited in line multiple times, and I think he finished second. He told me that he ran that thing at least 4 times, which would have been, a few hours in line to do this. Wow, and he couldn't beat my time.
It's too cool for school, man.
Yeah, it was pretty great. So, yeah.
Real quick, that Michael Jackson game, Scramble Training.
There you go.
Michael Jackson in Scramble Training for the Sega AS1 motion simulator.
Right. Yep.
That's the one.
By the way, if you want to learn about that motion simulator stuff, Generation 16 Pyramid Patrol episode. I go into a lot of detail about that.
You
that's
did talk about that in there, didn't you?
That's in there, yeah.
Nice.
Maybe CJ will put the link in the show notes. Probably not, but he should. Okay, let's move on real quick, because we want to get to what you've been playing. But one of the other things that Ben threw onto the news list here that I think is pretty cool, because I didn't even realize that this game existed until recently.
Yeah.
Which is apparently a fan translation of Phantasmagoria, the 8-disc Saturn version of Phantasmagoria has been translated. I didn't even know Phantasmagoria was on the Saturn.
So
this
wait,
is Japanese, obviously, but
is it just the same game as the old PC version?
Yeah, as far as I know, I only learned about the Saturn port, I think, last year, and it was the same person who told me about this. In fact, it was just before the show. He sent me a link and said, "Dude," yeah, and I have a satiator for my Sega Saturn.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna have to download this.
Stuart does to be able to plug in translated games onto it and play it without having to use a disc. So I'm super excited. But I believe this is very timely too that this is happening now, but I believe it's the exact same game as the PC. I'm sure there are some content cuts or some weird things in there because, like, Phantasmagoria, the PC, some scenes there that even I feel uncomfortable.
Where it was only released in Japan, there might not be.
Oh, fair point.
Right? Because, I mean, the content wouldn't be as... they weren't as concerned about the content in the ways we were in North America, where video games were for babies.
Right. The other thing, I haven't confirmed this, but I think it's probably the same company that also released a bunch of other adventure games like Dark Seed and Dark Seed 2, which were only available on like PlayStation and Saturn in Japan, never got released in North America. But yeah, like I want to see that Saturn video compressed over 8
Well, it was funny because
CD-ROMs.
I took a quick glance when I saw this news break there this week. Somebody had posted the box for the Saturn version,
which is just
which is huge. But the back of the box, the thumbnails clearly not from the Saturn version.
Oh,
Like
really?
they look like
interesting.
VHS like thumbnails that were taken from the VHS tapes or something.
Right.
Because they just weren't. They didn't even look like a Windows CD-ROM like thumbnails to me anyway. I mean, I just glanced at them, but they did
That's
not
so funny.
look. They looked way too good to be Saturn thumbnails.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Okay. Now I don't know much about the translation scene, so forgive my ignorance with this question. But this Phantasmagoria for the Japanese Sega Saturn is a port of an old PC game that was released in English.
Mhm.
So why did they have to translate a game that already has a full English script? Couldn't they have just taken that English script and
maybe
put it
they did.
into?
I think that's what they did.
Okay.
But I think it's all the built-in text, like all the actual on-screen text plus UI
Okay.
stuff was all.
Okay.
was all
So
translated.
they weren't doing so much the actual translation, they were just incorporating the existing English script into
It's a localization patch. It's really
or like
want to be
a restoration.
if you want to be
Okay.
proper about it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm super excited. I really can't wait to play it. Because I played Phantasmagoria once on PC, and that was like a total trip. Big
Never played it. That
Yeah,
was a Roberta
yeah,
Williams game, wasn't it?
either.
That's right. And so the reason why I said it was timely is that Roberta and Ken Williams were at GDC
Right.
2 weeks ago. Was that 2 weeks already? Yeah.
What were
2 weeks ago.
They announced something?
Yeah, they are creating a VR remake of Colossal Cave Adventure.
Right.
Oh.
Which they did not design, but Sierra published.
Yeah.
They
should do a VR remake of soft porn.
Exactly.
that joke I think did come up probably quite a bit, but
way up.
Joke?
But what's funny is the YouTuber Metal Jesus Rocks did an interview because he used to work at Sierra. He worked in the call center of Sierra, and they did like a 1-hour interview on his YouTube channel, 3 weeks ago or whatever, a couple of weeks ago, where they essentially just handed Ken and Roberta different like boxed copies of games and said like, okay, let's talk about this. And I think the first one,
cool.
And the first one I believe was Phantasmagoria, and they talked about what went wrong with it. Why it did well, but not as well as they wanted, and a bunch of other interesting tidbits. And they do that for about an hour. It's really, really interesting.
I will have to go watch that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Because I'm a pretty big Sierra fan. I'm actually reading the Leisure Suit Larry book right now.
Wait, hold on. What's the Leisure Suit Larry book?
So here's the thing. I didn't.
Is this like a Worlds of Power thing?
I posted this on Twitter a long time ago because when I first got, we're never going to get to what you've been playing. When I first got around 2003, when I was living in North Carolina, I bought myself my first new computer in forever. And it was finally something that could play games, right? Because I could do emulation on my previous PC, but I couldn't play modern games. So I went out to Best Buy at that point, because I was in North Carolina, and just started buying up PC games to play. I was really into like NASCAR 2003, and I think I got to Call of Duty, whatever the latest Call of Duty game was at that point. I had a bunch of more modern games, but while I was there, that was when Sierra had released collections of all their old Quest games. So they were in these sort of long, thin boxes. And there was like the King's Quest collection, which has 1 through 7, Police Quest, which had up to SWAT 2, I think.
Were these the boxes?
Quest for Glory.
They were kind of like a solid color on the front with just like a little icon of it, sort of.
No.
Okay.
No. These ones were they were, like I said, they were long. They were thin, like the big boxes were gone at that point, and they were sort of all these uniform thickness. But these ones were much wider, and they almost all had flip open covers.
Okay.
with like, it was when Sierra was using, you could tell a Sierra game because they had a little colored bar at the bottom of the box. Every single one of them had a little colored bar on the bottom of the box. Anyway, so I bought all these like Space Quest and Leisure Suit Larry and all that stuff, and they were all on CD-ROM. So anyway, you know, and played them, but that was 20 years ago. I've moved a bunch of times. A lot of those games have been in storage. So when I put together the game room downstairs, I was going through and sort of cataloging because I had moved a lot of my games. I'd put all the boxes and everything in storage, but I put the games in CD wallets. So I was putting sort of everything back in the boxes. And when I opened the Leisure Suit Larry collection box, there's a full book in there about the history of Leisure Suit Larry that was written by Al Lowe.
Oh, no kidding.
Which was apparently something that was sold in stores as well around the same time, because when you read the book, it actually says, like, if you're reading this in the bookstore, go, you know, it's Al Lowe. So there's stupid jokes right from the start. Right. It's like, if you're reading this in the bookstore, go pay for it so you can read more. And if you're reading this, if you found this in the box of the collection, you know, put it back in the box, close it up, and go up to the counter and pay for it. You know, that sort of thing. So it came out about 20 years ago, I'd say.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I'd completely forgotten about it. So of course I took it out of the box and I've went and paid for it. And then I brought it upstairs and put it on my nightstand. And now I'm just I've gotten to it. So I'm about halfway through it. It's a pretty quick read. And it's kind of fun too. You know, again, it's Al Lowe. It's written in Al Lowe's voice. Al Lowe is the king of the groaner joke. And it's very much that. Like, you can't get through more than 2 sentences without one of his jokes. So, you know, that's what it is. But I'm still enjoying it a lot. So yeah.
Book review on Weekly Commute?
Eventually, when I finish it.
Awesome.
Yeah. You know what? Let's get into what you've been playing, because we've been going for like an hour now and we haven't even started this. I actually have nothing to add to what you've been playing this week. So we're gonna jump right into Phil.
Oh boy.
Find out what he's been playing.
Playing more Kirby. Enjoying Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Having a blast with that.
How far into it are you, Phil?
You loving spit and swallow mode?
Oh my God.
That's all I do. You know, that's how I live my life. So
come on, Ben. That's what everyone thought when they first heard that.
Seeing that in game form is just, you know, it's a lovely thing to say.
Gratifying.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going at it a little slow. I've slowed my pace down. I'm in World 4 at this point, which is kind of snowy, if I remember correctly. It's kind of the ice snow world.
I love a good snow level.
Exactly. Well, there's a whole bunch of them here. But yeah, I rescued enough little Waddle Dees to expand my town some more. I got a Coliseum to do battles in and things like that. So yeah, I'm having a really good time with that. I don't think I'm gonna.
Uh-oh.
What I love is he always freezes on the best faces.
That was quite the cliffhanger. Will we ever find out?
I'm loving it,
but I don't think I'm going to finish it in time for Tuesday, which is when the new Lego Star Wars game comes out.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
is that the much delayed Lego Star Wars?
Yes, indeed, the Skywalker Saga, which I pre-ordered about 2 years ago.
Nice.
So gonna be very satisfying when I can go pick that up over at the Best Buy to get my exclusive Lego Star Wars Steelbook case.
Is it made of Lego? Steel Lego?
Well, it's not, because then it would be a Lego book.
That kind of would have been a good thing, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you can buy one at lego.com for $350.
Well, then I might buy it. You know, I did crack and get the big DeLorean.
How? Okay, wait a minute. Why would you describe that as cracking? It's the Back to the Future DeLorean,
right? Made
of Lego, and you're Phil.
It's true.
What cracking had to happen there?
Well,
that it exists and you have money?
I mean, it was an eggshell.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot
really
of effort.
Brittle one.
Yeah. But, you know, it's like $200 and it's like, it's big. I don't have room for it, but here we go.
I really want it, but I can't justify
It's on
it.
its way.
I
really want the McLaren
size
F1
comparison to Unicron.
too.
What are we talking here?
Well, I mean, it's going to be smaller than Unicron. My goodness.
Seattle's smaller than Unicron.
Yeah. I mean, he could probably hold it though, and make the swooshing noises. So it's an accessory.
So I got to ask you, which version of the DeLorean will you be building?
Oh man, see that's
because I believe that you can do it from any of the 3 movies, right?
Yes, you can modify it to have all 3 versions. Well, that's why I bought 3 of them.
Well,
so
stupid question. I'm sorry.
Not really a concern of mine.
Right.
No,
now I feel dumb.
I just bought the one. Although, you know what? It was funny. I believe when you purchased it online, I believe they had a limit of 3 because they fully expect some people to do that. Awesome. So,
wow.
I'd go with the original.
I'll probably just do the first one.
It's the best looking one.
Yeah. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I love the folded under wheels for the hover mode, something about the little greeblies on the back of the first one just looks cooler than Mr. Fusion.
For me, it's like that's the one I fell in love with.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
Dance with the one that brung you. What else have you been playing?
So I'm just enjoying Kirby. Looking forward to Lego Star Wars. The Steelbook, by the way, I'll be showing it to you next week, most likely. Mm-hmm. It looks like Han in Carbonite, Lego Han Solo in Carbonite.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah, it's gonna be cute. Yeah. I also I tried out that VR mini golf game
that CJ's been pushing you to try.
That CJ was going on about. Yeah. It was on sale a couple days ago, so I picked it up and I played through an 18-hole course the other day. It's actually quite good. It's a very good game. It's a fun little mini golf game. It sells the feeling of playing actual mini golf. So
is this for the Quest, Phil?
Yes, it is.
You guys have the past few weeks getting dangerously close to making a budget to buy a Quest.
They're pretty nice.
Because you guys keep talking about some stuff that I've not heard of and sounds amazing.
It's actually it's a pretty neat little thing. I'm glad I broke down and bought it.
I'll tell you what, because the one thing we aren't talking about tonight, and what I wanted to have on my what you've been playing, but I just didn't get a chance to play it. Moss 2 came out on Friday.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so I was super excited about that. And I did buy it.
Oh, did you?
I did download it, and I hooked up my PlayStation VR with my PS5, but got into it and realized you need a PS4 controller to play it because it wants the light bar on the controller.
Oh.
So unfortunately, it was that moment. My PS4 is down in the game room, down in the den, and my my daughter was having a sleepover at that point, and it was late at night, and I didn't want to bother them, so I just didn't.
Wake up!
I didn't bother and go get
Daddy needs to play VR.
I gotta get
You're ruining it.
Kid's got my light bar.
But what I will say is, of course, I had the PSVR hooked up, and I was sort of messing around with it while I was waiting for the game to download before I realized I couldn't play it there, and the Quest has ruined me for the old PSVR.
Really?
I mean, I can deal with the I think it's a lower resolution. I can deal with that.
Oh yeah,
but the tracking is just it's so noticeably not as good. And I'm just the Quest I've so gotten used to, even the little bit I've played it because my son plays it way more than I have. But it's just like, boy, this is okay, but it feels as old as it is. And the tech was simple on purpose, and I always appreciated that because we were back when that came out, we were still mostly talking about light towers and stuff, or if they went with the tech that's in the Quest, it would have been exorbitantly expensive. But it's like, whoa, I kind of like just even down to the little things like the VR2 will have one cable, and where the Quest has no cables, like you just pull the thing on and you're playing. It's like, oh, that's nice, instead of tethered to this thing with 2 cables and the headphones, and because I have the original VR as well. So, but I will be talking about Moss Book 2 next week because I'm super excited to start playing. I'm so happy it finally came out.
Really want to play that because Moss is such a fun game.
So good,
it's so good, so charming, and 2 looks fantastic. But and it's killing me though because I double dipped because I got it. It was Moss was a pack in with the PlayStation VR, and I double dipped on it for the Quest.
Mhm.
And at the moment, Moss 2 is only on PlayStation. It's
I
not.
think so.
It's not.
Right.
I don't even think it's been announced for any other headset or anything. So
yeah,
I'm.
And that was the
torn.
thing. I was like, should I wait? Because I mean, even before I had hooked the VR back up, I was like, I'm not. I know it will be more convenient
Mhm.
to play this on the Quest, but I kind of want it right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I've been waiting it for what? Because of exactly
yeah.
that. I loved Moss, and
Yeah.
I want to support that developer as well because they made such a great product, and I'm so excited to play the second one. And
Yeah.
so I bought it, and then I didn't play it.
I'll probably crack and
Yeah.
get that at some point as well.
Yeah.
And then double dip when they eventually port it to the Quest.
Mhm.
But
That's the Phil we know and love.
that's me. But yeah, that mini golf game is quite good. I was very pleasantly surprised with it. So I'm looking forward to playing some more of it. And just for fun, I did do a full swing just to see what happens. You know, the full
Broke things in your
power
house?
golf swing. Well, I held on to the control. You know, I didn't let go. I didn't throw the controller across the room. But yes, you can indeed just smack the ball.
You have
completely.
chosen power swing.
Oh yeah. So, I also picked up. I'm not going to talk about this much, but I also for the Quest, they had a little bundle sale of like arcade classics, or they called it something like that. It's basically just, hey, here's some old iPhone games, but now VR.
Nice.
Huh.
So it was Fruit Ninja and the Angry Birds VR
Fruit
game.
Ninja's a good time in VR, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
It really is. They have a few different modes that are very similar to the ones in the old iOS game. They did have one, which I'm assuming is a VR exclusive mode. I think it's just called Survival, and you're in just like the little arena that you're normally in, but then a little hovering fruit basket flies in from over your head. It's a fruit basket, and it's got a rotor and a little cannon on it, and it just starts kind of randomly flying around shooting fruit at you that you have to slice up. And then after a while, a second one comes in, and a third and a fourth. So, and they're just all flying all over the place. So you're just whipping your head back and forth, trying to keep track of where they all are and where the fruit's coming from, or the bombs that you have to dodge and stuff like that. And I played a round of that and had fun, but then by the end of it, you realize that, for the past 10 minutes, I've been wearing this weight on my face and whipping my head around and ducking and standing up, and now my neck really hurts and I kind of have a headache. So I put it down. But yeah, it's cute. And the Angry Birds game, it's Angry Birds. You pull like you're shooting a slingshot and stuff. It's cute.
Right.
Cool.
The other big thing that I got this week.
Little thing.
Well, yeah, it is a little thing, but big in price, small in stature, like myself.
Mhm.
The Taito Egret 2 Mini, which I ordered from Amazon.co.jp. It's an internet
got
website.
There in 4 hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
No kidding.
Yeah,
Amazon
absolutely.
Japan is like the fastest shipping on the planet.
It really is. But I got my Taito Egret. I got the big bundle pack that includes this is, for those who don't know, it's another one of those little micro mini systems, similar in design to the Sega Astrocade one that came out a while ago. Because it's made
it's Taito's like sort of catch-all arcade machine.
Exactly. And so you can buy the little core system. It has its own little built-in screen, and the screen is actually quite clever because a lot of Taito's arcade machines have vertical screens. Tate mode.
Tate mode.
I believe we're talking about Tate mode.
Yes. So the screen on the actual little device, and it has an HDMI out, so you can play them on your TV, of course. But if you're playing them on just the actual unit, the screen is standard, the horizontal screen. But if you push the screen in, there's like a nice little click clunk, and the screen sort of pops out, maybe a half inch or so, and then you actually physically rotate the screen.
That's awesome.
And push it back in.
I didn't realize this until probably a year or so ago, because one of the channels I watch, Classic Gaming Quarterly, he has Sega Astro City, like an actual machine. They're built to do that, like the full size machine.
Like the real one.
Yes,
you
can actually
like
where you
pull
can
the screen
pull
out?
the monitor out and rotate it.
Really?
Yes, I had no idea.
I didn't either.
I was like, oh my god, that's so awesome.
I only learned about that because of reviews of the egret and being like, wait, hold on, someone built an arcade machine that we could pull the monitor. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
That is insane. But yeah, the Mini does that as well then, and it works perfectly. So
awesome.
Yeah,
Phil, I heard about. Sorry, just a quick question.
Ahead.
I heard about some people having problems with some of the power supply that comes with it.
I heard that too. Well, because it doesn't come with the power supply. It comes with it comes with a cord.
Oh, just like a USB cable.
Yeah, I think it's a USB-C.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, it just comes with the cord, and you have to supply the AC adapter so you can actually plug it in. I just grabbed like an Apple one that I had sitting around, and I had no problem with it. And it wasn't until after I had been playing it for a while, and then went online to kind of read just people's impressions and stuff, where I started seeing a lot of people having trouble with it, if they're using some AC adapter that's just not pumping out enough juice to fully power the machine, which was, I guess, causing it to slow down or crash. I haven't had any trouble using the Apple brand one.
Yeah, I heard the laptop charger was probably fine because they're meant to set a certain amount of charge as opposed to like just a phone charger, one of the smaller ones. But
right.
I was just curious. That's good though.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like I said, I haven't had any problems, and I mean, just through sheer luck. Mm-hmm. So, but and then they also sell. It's sold separately, but I got a bundle that comes with both of them. It's they have a little add-on port.
This is my favorite part outside of the rotating screen.
The add-on device that you can get that you plug into the back via USB is a trackball and the little Arkanoid paddle controller.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And it comes with a little SD card that has it plugs into the side of the unit, and it contains an extra 10 games.
Whoa.
That are designed to. There we go. You can see the little.
It has a taste.
Moe head.
Has Doe, I believe, is the name of the Arkanoid Moe head. But yeah, it has another 10 games that take advantage of the paddle and the trackball.
That's so interesting that comes on an SD card. Like, are those DRM? Like, does it have DRM on them, or can you just copy files from that SD card?
I think I saw people on. I haven't looked too much into this, but I think I saw people asking like, "Oh, were you able to pull the ROMs off here?" And I guess they haven't at this point. Someone's probably working on a way to to rip those off there, but
and to put other games on the system, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it just plugs in. There's a little SD card port on the side of the machine.
Cool.
That just pops right in. What's kind of a bummer though is that when you put this SD card in and you turn on the machine, it's basically are you playing the games that come standard with the unit, or are you playing these games?
It doesn't append them to the list or anything.
Right.
Okay.
Which kind of sucks, because now if I want to play any of the other games, I got to pull this card out, and there's no place to really store it. Like there's no
that's something you want to just kind of leave in there.
Yeah.
Like you got to put like an ashtray beside your egret mini. Just
screw it right to the side of the
system. Needs something to where I can store this, because I mean it's an SD card. They're easy to lose. So
how do you like the game? Because this is the first one of these I think that I haven't just bought.
right.
Because I it was pricey.
It is, yeah.
And like the Astro City, I'll be honest, I don't use the Astro City Mini very much at all.
Same here.
But it's Sega, and I kind of like, my God,
You kind of had to.
It's kind of on brand.
Right.
So, but I'm not. Taito is some great arcade games. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but nothing on there really excited me to the point that I wanted to spend the money.
Yeah, I don't blame you for not doing it. I'm glad I picked it up. No regrets.
I was waiting for that somewhere. If you were gonna do it, I was gonna do it.
He's pretty proud of himself. Come on, let's move this along.
Oh Lord. Oh mercy me. Okay. Let me get there we go. So yeah, there's some good games on there. There's some classics. Undeniable classics. You got Bubble Bobble on there. You got 3 Arkanoid games when you have that expansion. You got one of the Darius games. Darius Gaiden.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But it's not super wide, which is kind of
because Gaiden was the one that got ported to
everything.
PS1, I think, right? Originally?
I believe so.
And Saturn, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's not one of their stupid, crazy widescreen ones, which is unfortunate, but yeah, I got those collections on the Switch, so I can play those on there. The big one that I'm very excited about being on this thing is Elevator Action Returns.
Yes.
There was news about that this week, too.
What about it?
The company that brought the Cotton game, City Connection, they're bringing Layer Section, aka Galactic Attack, soon.
Right.
And apparently they're also bringing the Saturn version of Elevator Action.
Oh, are they really?
See, now there's another Saturn game that I've always meant to play because I've never heard anything but amazing things about it.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Phil. I just remembered that.
Oh no, I did not realize that. So that's
I think it just got announced in the last 24 hours or something.
Oh wow. I hope they do a better job with that port than they did with the Cotton Saturn Tribute collection.
Did you play after they patched it?
Oh, did they patch it already?
There is a patch that is supposed to reduce the input lag and something else. I forget there was some other issues.
I need to download because I had heard that they were working on it, but I didn't realize it had been released. So I will definitely have to update my games and give them another try. But Elevator Action Returns is so good. Just a top-notch arcade game. And because I loved the original Elevator Action back in the early 80s. But yeah, no, it's an improvement on it in every way. Such a fun game. But yeah, you got Kiki Kai Kai, which is Pocky and Rocky.
Right.
New Zealand one of those coming out soon too, isn't there?
What's that?
There's a new one of those coming out soon too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
I have the Switch version pre-ordered. But yeah, it's like one of the Puzzle Bobble games is on there. Kicks, which is a fun old arcade game. Growl. You're a Genesis player.
I remember Growl.
Yeah.
Was not good on the Genesis.
Yeah, the arcade one's pretty fun though.
Yeah, it loses all its personality on the Genesis.
Oh yeah, I forget it has a different name in Japan. It's not called Growl.
I forget what it's called, but yeah, it's Growl.
But it's on there. Only one space. It's only the original Space Invaders game on there, which is odd.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
because like the one the 89 did that come out in the arcade before it came to the home systems?
I think so,
because that was a good game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, it was a really fun more modern take on Space Invaders. I really enjoyed that.
That's the one that was on Genesis, right?
Yeah. Came here as 90, Space Invaders 90.
Was it 90?
But Space Invaders 89 was the original title.
Okay. Yeah, that was a really good game. So, I am enjoying the Egret 2 Mini. I can absolutely see skipping it though, just because
Yeah.
It's there's some great games, there's some classic games, but it's also really kind of expensive for what you're getting.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but I'm happy I got
Plus
it.
I have all
Yeah,
those retro games to buy. So
oh yeah, did you oh, speaking of, look at this. I got this.
Oh nice, the boombox.
From the good folks who make the this is New Wave Toys, the people who make those
I
replicate
swear
cabinets.
the one that's based on is in my basement.
Oh, you have the original JVC one?
Yeah.
My aunt had that exact model too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is they did a Kickstarter for a Bluetooth speaker recreation of an old JVC boombox, and it finally showed up this week. I actually got there were two models. This is the mini version, which is still fairly large. It's obviously not as large as the full scale boombox, but there's also a mini one that is a 1/6 scale.
Okay.
So that one is currently in my display cabinet back there with my 1/6 scale Bill and Ted figures.
Amazing.
And the couple replicate arcade machines I have, which are also 1/6 scale. So
nice.
I'm very pleased. But anyway. Oh, and here, look at this. Oh, the YouTubers are seeing this. The tape deck opens up and it has a
oh my god.
That's great.
Vividly remember those cassettes.
It's the old Memorex.
That was the Memorex brand.
Yep,
with
the old Memorex brand tape.
Yellow
Saved by the Bell style graphics on it.
Yes, indeed. So,
oh my god.
Yeah.
So many of those when I was a kid.
There. Anyway.
I wonder if that has my CNC Music Factory mix on it.
Well, you know what? Again, you can stream it. You got there's a Bluetooth speaker, so you can play whatever you want. It functions as an AM FM radio.
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
If
you're into AM channels around here anymore.
If you're into AM FM radio.
I listen to the radio all the time.
Yeah, me too. I'm one of those weirdos that listens to the radio.
I listen to classical music because I'm fancy.
Tommy Tallarico's Beethoven covers.
That's right.
All right, let's move along here because we're pushing an hour and a half, and CJ's going to yell at me. Benjamin,
that's me.
What have you been playing in 90 seconds? Go.
Wow.
What have you been playing?
A couple fun things. The first thing I want to mention is on my stream, which if you don't know, you can watch me stream, twitch.tv/Benjamin Rivers Inc. Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. EST. I've been playing a Stream Fan Request, which is another translation patch, just came out for the original Tokimeki Memorial.
Oh man,
Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it's the Super Famicom version. And I have always wanted to play the game, but it has sometimes it has auto-scrolling text, and my Japanese is not good enough that I can keep up with fast-scrolling text. I'm like, I think I know what that. Oh, too late. It's gone. So when this was announced, I was very excited, got it up and running. It does a couple things that means, at least to my knowledge, I can't run it on, say, an SNES Classic, so I have to run it through an emulator. It also, the people who did the translation patch, re-injected the video files that are in the PC Engine version as these special files that you can load through certain Super NES emulators. They'll read them. They're called like .msu or something. Okay. So when you play the game, you get like the original intro from the PC Engine version with like translated lyrics and all that kind of stuff. Cool. So I've been wanting to play this game for decades, and I'm extremely happy to do it. And it has been maybe my favorite game we've ever streamed in the last 2 years. The most appropriate game for the like complete weirdos that watch me stream, at least. And if you watch the VODs of that, you'll see why. Had me laughing so hard that I was crying, and I had to just take a break and come back because it was so funny. Because there's some just weird things that happen in that game. But if you've never played it, I mean, it's a dating sim, like the dating sim, but it's actually just a time management game. And it's like the gameplay itself is very dry, meaning that, at the beginning of a week as a high school student, you are saying, what do you want to focus on this week? And you can choose from something that's sort of like chemistry or drama, whatever, club activities, getting healthy, or like exercise. And the whole game is just a series of stats. And then every activity has the opportunity to either raise some stats or lower others. And the whole thing is just a balancing act of like, what are you trying to do? So and I believe the way it works behind the scenes is everything is sort of like a dice roll. So if you say choose to focus on exercising, but you don't roll very well behind the scenes, you can injure yourself, and then you'll see certain stats like health go down and down, which forces you to maybe say, well, the next week I'm going to just rest because I have to. And what's cool is that there's all these little story hooks built into what you're doing. It's paying attention to all these to your stats at certain moments in the story. And then, of course, because it's a dating sim, you're trying to date the girls in your school. And the way they do it is like it's like Dream Phone and all those other sort of like weird dating, gamifications of sort of dating life of just, how do you simulate the awkwardness of a teenage relationship? And it's about like, well, I guess you try to make sure you spend time with people, so you do the thing that they like, and then you learn, where a girl likes to go, so you phone her and try to ask her out for a certain day. And let me tell you, sometimes when you're trying really hard to do this stuff, you're like, okay, we're going to try to focus on this character and whatnot. And you call them and they're like, nah, it hurts, man. It hurts.
Sounds realistic.
It's too real. So the one thing that's sort of funny and weird in the game is the way you learn about the girls, so you can start to understand, oh, they like to go to the aquarium, or they like to, this is a birthday gift, is you have your best bro, Yoshio, who apparently is just a complete stalker, because you phone him and you're like, tell me what's up with the girls. And then he'll say like, oh yeah, I've been taking notes. Like I've been essentially following them around every day and paying attention. And he's like, oh, here, I'll show you the stats. So it's like, here's their blood type and measurements, of course. And, like the food they like and all this kind of stuff. And it's, in the context of the game, as it was back then, it sounds innocent. In the context of it now, it's really disturbing.
I've been collecting blood samples from all these girls you're interested in, and
That's right.
Sorry, you just reminded me of something. There was a moment like that today where my oldest is really into Full House. She's watching Full House, like watching through the old original Full House. And the episode she happened to be watching today was where oh my God, what's the middle sister's name? DJ's little sister.
Stephanie?
Anyway, Stephanie comes down to DJ and her boyfriend Aladdin and is complaining about.
Her boyfriend's name is Aladdin?
The dude who played her boyfriend in Full House was the voice of Aladdin in the Disney movie.
Oh, the character's name is Aladdin.
No, not at all. I don't know his real name. But anyway, she comes downstairs and says like she has a question about boys, and she asks DJ and her boyfriend. It's like there's this boy at school who's like putting me in headlocks and like sort of physically harassing her.
Right.
And of course the answer is, well, he probably just likes you.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God. And I happened to turn to my 14-year-old daughter watching this, and she was looking right at me. And I was just like, I hate this. And she's like, I know. Like, it's just like, I'm so glad that you realize that is not good advice.
Look, it was the 90s.
Oh my God. Anyway, sorry.
No, so far there's no like egregious handsies or anything that gets you points. It's mostly just innocent, like try to impress them with your math skills or whatnot. But it is incredibly fun. And I've joked with people before that, there are like 1 million games get released every year whose gameplay loop is essentially like kill stuff and is some variation thereof. And I get real bored of that, especially when a game is like, you need to get better at killing things. And you're like, okay, but if there's no wrapper around that I find interesting, like, Metroid is a game where you just murder things, but it's fun because the sci-fi stuff and the world music and all that. But like a lot of games are just not interesting to me because of what you actually do. But anytime a game has a dating system at all, I'm like +10 interested. And like, I'm in the door. Let's have a conversation about this. And even though it's so rudimentary, like it's the first game in 2.5 years. We played a lot of really good games and a lot of horrible games on Twitch, where the 2.5 hours I stream goes by before I know it. And I look at the clock and say, holy crap, we have to end the night, because I'm so invested because of all the crazy story things that are going on. I'm sure that says a lot of terrible things about me, but I'm willing to admit it. Anyway, game is great. I hope they do the other ones in the series, because I really want to play the rest of them.
I remember those being really big on the Saturn.
Yeah.
That series being really big on the Saturn in Japan.
Yeah. It's great.
That was one of the first PS1 import games I bought.
Yeah.
Did you play it at the time?
In the 90s.
I played as much as I possibly could, knowing absolutely zero Japanese.
Yeah, I have friends who
So
played
not
through the
much.
Saturn version.
Oh yeah,
One of the Saturn versions, not knowing a lick of Japanese.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's really interesting. There's watch the VOD because there's some funny stuff in there. The next thing though is I recently got one of these. Let me do a little show and tell.
I'm jealous of this.
oh yeah.
Like,
Look at
got
this.
an analog
It's right
pocket.
there on it.
So I've been playing some Game Boy games that I have for the Analog Pocket. I was actually planning on buying an EverDrive, but currently that is a little difficult because of the situation with the person who
Actually,
makes the EverDrive.
Crix posted on Twitter this week that they're starting to get shipments out again.
I saw that.
Oh,
I'm
really?
looking for one or a couple specific Game Boy EverDrives. Like, they have different models of them that
Mhm.
have different features. And so far, the ones I want aren't in stock. But
And for people who don't understand why, Crix is Ukrainian.
so he had to
So,
flee
had to flee.
Ukraine. I think he's in Spain now.
I believe
Oh,
so.
really?
Yeah.
So it's been great. So what happened was I actually lucked out on an Analog Pocket. I didn't pre-order. Man, it's gonna sound like a jerk by saying this. I didn't even try, but I got one.
This is just how good I am.
But essentially, some other developers I know had an extra one,
Oh, nice.
and they said, "Hey, does anyone want them? You want this? It's coming." I got one of the ones that's in the newest batch, and I just broke down and said, "Yeah, it's whatever. Just do it. Tell me how much I owe you." So luckily it came, and it is incredible. Like everyone's clearly there are other channels that have gone through tons of info about what it does and how it works, and all like why the Pocket's so good. But it is the first time where I'm playing Game Boy games the way I remember them being, not the way they actually were.
Yeah.
And so the dot matrix, it's got a dot matrix filter for original Game Boy games that looks 100% perfect and feels perfect.
Man.
And there's one setting on there you guys would appreciate, which is you can turn on frame blending, which makes it look a little blurry, like the slow refresh rate from the original Game Boy, which is important to some games because they did visual effects with them. So if you find those important, you'll like that. And it feels so good because it actually isn't murdering your eyes like the original did.
Right.
But it certainly feels like it.
Yeah, it's funny how we remember that, right? Because I remember playing the Castlevania collection. Then M2 had that great Game Boy filter for the adventure games, and it was kind of like you're saying. It looks like I remember Game Boy games looking.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like what Game Boy games looked like,
right?
But but yeah, it's great. I'm jealous of this thing, but I keep telling myself not to buy one just because like portable games right now, I'm only really playing them if I can stream them, and I know with that you can stream, but you need the extra, or can you do it right from the vanilla unit?
You cannot, and I feel like I mean, I understand why they did it, but I feel like it's a weird oversight. Like I wish there was the option of, for those who don't know, you can also buy a dock accessory that does the same thing as your Switch does, lets you plug in via sort of a special USB-C connector, which has HDMI out and all that stuff, and then leave it plugged into your TV, and you can play it in your TV with like a wireless controller or whatnot. And because I got this, like lucked into this order that somebody else had made, all they had ordered was the unit. So I have also placed an order for the dock and like a Game Gear adapter and whatnot, but that is scheduled to arrive in Q1 2023. It may come sooner, but that's the scheduled delivery unit.
They're also planning on supporting Neo Geo Pocket Color and Lynx, are they not?
Yes. Yeah, it's Game Gear, PC Engine, TurboGrafx, Neo Geo Pocket Color, and Lynx.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
So I want to get the TG16 adapter so I can finally have a Turbo Express.
So you can play all those games that were meant for big televisions and are unreadable on a tiny screen.
This thing has 6 buttons. I'm playing Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition from the PC Engine on this bad boy. It's my
and it has a dock.
True.
So you can play it on the TV.
No, I know.
Yeah, see?
It's just, I just remember finally getting a Turbo Express and playing. It's like, this is amazing. It's like like playing Newtopia or something. Like, I can't read any of this.
It's so
not meant for this low resolution tiny screen. Cool. Anything else you've been playing?
The other thing I've been playing is Xenoblade Chronicles 1 because I am very behind the times. And friend of the show, Scoop Jessica, basically convinced me to play through the entirety of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the Switch, which I did. And then the day I finished it, I downloaded.
Oh, you played like the CJ way.
Yeah.
Start with the sequel.
And then I downloaded number 1 and I've been playing it, and I absolutely love it. I could go on and on about why. There's like a huge bunch of game design things that game does, like the Switch version specifically, that I'm extremely happy with, especially as someone who loves JRPGs but doesn't actually like to play them all that much.
I totally get it.
Loves to experience them.
Yep.
And that game so far has made that a lot friendlier than a lot of other games do. Yeah.
All right. Phil.
Yes.
It's time for tweets.
Tweedly deedly dee. Tweedly deedly dee. Tweet. Tweet. Tweet.
All right, we only have time for a couple of these, I think. So let's just jump into this one. From hacker alias Z Miller 1902. He asks, have you guys checked out the IDW series for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Transformers? I read the former and it's consistently fantastic, and I can't speak directly to the latter, but I have heard nothing but good things.
I absolutely have on both.
Figured,
as you might imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've read all of IDW's Ninja Turtle stuff, and it is top tier turtles. I'm a big fan of it. Yeah, it's over 100 issues now.
Holy crap!
And then they have like a couple little like side series that they've like mini series that they've done, and they've all been great. Their Transformer stuff is also pretty great. There's some ups and downs. Certainly, I haven't read the newer series right now, which I've heard is not as good. A few years ago, though, there were they had 2 series kind of going simultaneously. One was called Robots in Disguise. It was the subtitle, and the other one was More Than Meets the Eye. And they both focused on kind of post-war. You know, the Autobot Decepticon war is over. And the Robots in Disguise series focused on life on Cybertron, as because at the end of at the beginning of that series, the end of the war, Optimus Prime leaves. He realizes that he is essentially a symbol of this ongoing war for millions of years, and that there can be no real peace if he is around. So he leaves. And then it is the one series is basically about Cybertron trying to form a new government, because you have all these unaligned Transformers that fled when the war began. They're returning home. And then you have the Autobots elect Bumblebee as the leader.
This is heavy stuff.
Then
I'm super into this.
Oh, it's really good. And then of course you have the Decepticons, who are all kind of prisoners of war, and then they start sort of demanding a voice in the government, and then of course through machinations, Starscream becomes the Decepticon representative for the government. So it's Starscream and Bumblebee, and then Metalhawk, who is an old G1 character, and he's sort of representing the unaligned people, and they're all working together to form a new government, and stuff happens and everything. And it's
I mean, that's what you watched Transformers for, was the political intrigue.
Absolutely. Not just the robots shooting each other.
Although, to be fair, I mean, there was an element of that with Starscream and Megatron.
Well, yeah, that's just it, right?
So.
And then the More Than Meets the Eye series was the top tier one, because that involved Rodimus, Hot Rod. He decides to leave Cybertron. He doesn't want anything to do with the new government. He's off. He gets a ship and flies off with his own crew, with like Ultra Magnus and a whole bunch of other kind of known characters, and they're off on their own quest, searching for like these mythical knights of Cybertron that are supposed to bring forth the new golden age. And it's just them on their ship having all sorts of crazy sci-fi adventures, visiting different planets, having encounters with all sorts of new creatures and species.
Tribbles.
Yes.
So one series is like Star Trek The Next Generation, and the other one is Deep Space Nine, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
Love it.
But yeah, and they're happening, at the same time. So you're kind of like, here's what's going on in Cybertron, here's what's going on out in space.
Oh, so there were two different series, but they weren't like two different branches. They were like two different timelines.
Yeah, it's the same timeline. And then of course events would happen where the two storylines would kind of cross paths and things like that.
Cool.
And
you got to have a crossover episode.
Well, exactly. More Than Meets the Eye. And this is I guess a spoiler, sort of, but it's More Than Meets the Eye. At one point, because Megatron, of course, is a prisoner of war, and he's on trial for his war crimes during the big war. Basically, what happens is he ends up renouncing the Decepticon cause, and he joins Hot Rod's crew out in space. He becomes an Autobot.
Whoa!
He gets the full-on Autobot symbol, and he joins the rest of the crew. And of course, they're all very skeptical. They think it's some sort of great trick that he's trying to pull. Megatron is genuinely remorseful for what he's done. And then, of course, you have Soundwave and a bunch of other Decepticons are now trying to assassinate Megatron for abandoning the cause and things like that. And
this is like a Magneto X-Men kind of thing.
I almost feel like I need to read this.
I'm 100% sold on
intrigued.
this.
Yeah. The most interesting thing that Hasbro has ever done with Megatron was turn him into a good guy, and it ended up being really, really great.
Cool.
I will, Benjamin, I'll send you a list of here's the ones you got to read.
Please do.
Good stuff.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yes. And now, of course, IDW's losing the Transformers license at the end of this year.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They also IDW did, and they've lost this license already. They did a Ghostbusters series a few years ago.
They just exist to make comics for things you'll read.
Oh, absolutely. And their Ghostbusters comics were also really damn good. But you can't find them anymore now because they're off of the digital storefronts and everything.
Well, yeah.
Anyway,
I think
me ranting about Transformers for 5 minutes.
I think that's a show because we're pushing 2 hours here, and we still
got
20 minutes of outro to do.
It's your own fault for.
No, I'm not complaining. I think this was good. I'm happy
with Transformers. I'm
happy with how it went.
Yeah, I get it.
All right, that's our show for this week. Thank you for listening. If you want to, do whatever CJ usually talks about here, you want to hit our website, player1podcast.com, where you'll see entries for this show. You'll see blog entries about Generation 16 when I put episodes up, as well as Sega CD games, again, when I put those up. And of course, if you want to hang out and chat with some of our amazing listeners and our great community, you can head over to our Discord server, which is just Player One Podcast, I believe. Lots of great stuff over there. Lots of retro game talk, modern game talk. We vote on our favorite games of the year. We're on 1999 right now. Racing stuff, if you're interested in that. New Gran Turismo series starting up in a couple weeks. We're going to stay with Gran Turismo Sport because GT7 is still in beta. And I think that pretty much covers CJ's spiel. I'm going to say it does.
Works for me. I'll tell you what, if you'd like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by visiting player1podcast.com or by loading up your favorite podcast listening app. We're also on Stitcher Radio, on Spotify. You can like us on Facebook. You can watch video archives of our show on the youtubes.com/P1 Podcast, or you can watch us live most weeks on the youtubes.coms, the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Twitch.televisions, all over the place. Just follow our Twitter account, which is at P1 Podcast, to find out when we are doing our next live show. Typically, it is Sunday nights at 5:30 specific time. So join us, won't you? And if you like what you've heard, and how could you, head over to patreon.com/P1 Podcast. Throw a few shekels our way. I got 2 more Lego DeLoreans to pick up. So
only allowed 2 more.
Only allowed. I mean, unless I make a second account. But what do I need? What do I need more?
Dishonest.
What do I need more than 3 Lego DeLoreans for?
3 is a good number.
Yeah. Did the animated series version have any different accoutrements to it? I don't know. I didn't watch that. Anyway, your Patreon funds, of course, help support our show. Keep us streaming all that stuff. And I'll tell you what, friendos, if you are a Patreon supporter of the $5 tier,
cheap,
you gain access to a special weekly bonus episode. We record it right after this, where we play games, crack wise, having fun, doing all the stuff can't do on the regular show. CJ,
not here.
Yes. Hey, it's me,
There he is.
CJ.
You know what? I already know the answer to this because Greg told me earlier. We do have a game this week.
We do.
It's a Jeopardy game, right?
It's a Jeopardy game from one Ben Fraser titled Degrassi.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Oh, this is not
We
gonna
should play
go
three
well.
teams and we'll see how it goes.
It's
Now,
gonna
wait
be
a second.
bad. I don't remember
No, we're not going to
anything.
play three teams.
Now, so Benjamin, you will be joining us for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. And I was going to say your Canadian know-how should help us here, but it sounds like no.
I'll do. Yeah.
So apparently,
I'll
there's
do
only
my
one
best.
Degrassi category.
Oh, okay.
And some other things inspired by Degrassi, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, this should be fun. This will be
I'm very excited.
I know nothing. I never watched Degrassi.
You really should fix that. It's not a
Should
very
I?
long series. You watch the old ones. It's only a few years of episodes.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
anyway,
I don't know if it'll have the same punch as a
it won't. but you
man
should
pushing his
still watch it.
50s as it would if I was like 13 or 14.
You know what? It'll be nostalgic for you because you are around the same age. So the things that these kids were going through in high school will reflect what you would have gone through in high
Going
school
through in a
if you were a
Canadian
teenager
high
in
school.
Ontario.
I don't know what.
So Ben,
So
if you were Ben,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. That episode where Spike's got to sell all those Game Boy games just to pay for
Yep.
tuition.
hurts, man.
Oh,
Devastating.
tragedy.
Le tragedy.
Le tragique. Le Game Boy tragique. That's, Theobald used to be French. He used to be Tybalt. So I am naturally inclined
You
to
mean
speak
Thibault?
French.
Is that?
Très bien.
I love that you're saying that it used to be French, but then you say Tybalt.
Tybalt.
That'd be
I don't know how you say it. What is it?
Thibault.
Thibault?
Thibault.
Thibault? Thibault.
That's better. Yeah, that's good.
Alors, is Thibault.
There it is.
Je suis Philippe Thibault. Alors.
Phil should come on my stream and do my French voice for me whenever, so I don't have to do it.
We are playing the Tokimeki Memoir. Which of these girls will you dare to bear?
Perfect.
Anyway, tell you what, if you have a couple bucks left over, head over to patreon.com/generation16 where you help support Greg's here. It's outstanding, and it is outstanding web series about North America's favorite runner-up, Sega Genesis.
Thank you, Philip. And if you are a supporter of the $5 per episode variety,
Also cheap.
you get access to. Sorry, I was so
That was French.
He was
yeah,
seduced
just-
there. He didn't know
yeah,
what to do.
very seduced
I
by that
understand.
amazing accent.
It
Access to the weekly commute, which is a weekly vlog series that I do for $5 patrons, where I talk about the progress of the current episode, other videos I'm working on, and kind of anything else that's on my mind. Today, the episode that went up today, I have a lengthy monologue about BMX.
That's not what I was hoping you were going to say.
Still a
Diatribe?
family show about BMX Triple X.
Oh,
So, hey, I hope people
There you-
found that interesting.
there you go.
Yeah, please support the show if you can.
It's great stuff.
Thank you.
Agreed. Okay, I guess that's it. See, now I gotta reconfigure because my muscle memory goes to the CJ and then I roll the R's. So
Hey, I'm CJ. Does that help?
Nope.
you know what it does,
Nah.
and it's a solid improvement over the real deal.
Oh wow.
Poor CJ.
What? I'm complimenting our guest.
So mean.
I mean, I like this. I'm good with this.
Yeah. Gregory,
Yo.
thank you very much for joining us,
Thank you, Philip.
doing all this, for
It
hosting
was fun. It's a good time.
with the blowsting.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, a big old super special thank you to our good friend Benjamin Rivers of Bensico Games Incorporated.
Thanks, Phil.
I
Thanks for
think
having
that's
me
the
on,
full
guys.
title, right?
Sure. Let's do
Excellent.
that.
Thank you for coming on, Benjamin. We appreciate it.
Always a good time.
Good to have you here.
Please don't ever learn your lesson. Always invite me back.
They keep inviting me back, so I don't think you have anything to worry about.
Excellent.
And of course, thank you, our wonderful, wonderful listeners, every single one of you. Remember, of course, as always, stay safe. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones, your family, your friends. Do what you gotta do to be safe. We hope to see you next week. We really do. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.